Hello again, everyone. Welcome in to the Norse Report show. I'm Kyle Craven, and I am joined once again by my good buddies, Michael Ruscher and Larry Weichel. Larry, if you move just a little bit to the left. Oh, look at that. Larry's got a nameplate and everything for us to see. Very nice, very nice, very nice. I don't even have to add graphics now. It's right there for you. Say again. What was that?
That was my graphic.
There you go. Awesome. Well, we got a lot to cover today, guys. You'll see I wore my Stay Positive shirt because that's very much what we're trying to do. Although this past weekend made it fairly difficult. And honestly, Larry just told us on our little pre-recording or our pre-call that he missed both games live. He had to work. He's if you guys don't know, he's a respiratory therapist. He's out there kicking COVID's ass on a daily basis. And I was out for the weekend, so I did not watch the games live. I watched them on recording. Probably a good weekend for both of us to miss, but unfortunately for Michael, unfortunately for us, he did catch the games. So Michael, Larry and I both kind of caught ourselves up a little bit. Larry, I know, did the debrief of the stats and caught some of the second game. I rewatched as much as I could of the first two, of both games. What did you see? Like, I don't know. I mean, we could start this a lot of different ways. I'm just going to let you go. What went wrong?
Well, guys, I think a lot of it was a lot of the same of what we saw the previous weekend against Cleveland State. I think offensively, we struggled once again. Friday night, shot 6 for 23 from behind the arc. And, Saturday night followed it up with 10 less shots from behind the arc. We went 4-13 that night. But most of it was almost like a repeat performance of what we saw the previous weekend. Offense could not seem to get in any form of a flow. We were very much perimeter-based once again, very limited drives to the basket or dump-offs. And defensively, again, we saw some defensive lapses at critical times. Saturday night, more importantly, being in a much closer game and having some opportunities down the stretch where maybe we had some lapses that allowed for an easier basket for IUPUI. But I would say overall, much of the same of what we've seen pretty much this entire year is just the offense had a very difficult time clicking and getting started. And then the defense, gave up some costly baskets when we needed some stops.
Yeah, and like I said, I caught a lot of the game on replay, both of them. And it's so, I don't even know, like normally every other year I have a breakdown, like this is what we did wrong. This is what we're doing wrong on the year. Like we got to fix this, fix that. I can't identify anything with this team specifically, like one little thing, like maybe if we clean this up, it gets better. This isn't what Norse fans are accustomed to. Larry, what are some of your thoughts on what's going on?
I think just looking at the stat sheet and going back and watching some of the games after the fact on replay, one thing that I like that we did is we really hung in there at the free throw line the second game. We hit free throws when we needed to, and at the same time, IUPUI couldn't hit a free throw, to save their lives. I think they shot 40% from the free throw line. So that tells me we got to the line, we made some shots. I think we shot about twice as many free throws as they did. So that tells me that we were doing some of the right things we need to do. But at the same time, we've got to take care of the ball. We got to play defense. Just looking at the seasonal stats, our 3-point percentage shooting is pretty dismal at about 27%. Our opponents are shooting about 34%. I think we're used to seeing almost the dead opposite of that. I think traditionally this is a Norse squad that over the years shot well from three and kept in a lot of games and won a lot of games with the three, but also played really, really stingy defense out on the perimeter. So I think that we're getting lost in our defensive rotations, and you're going to see a lot of really close losses because I still think we're a good team with a lot of high quality talent that is still trying to figure out how to convert these close losses to wins. And we probably should have expected it. You know, we replaced 3 outstanding seniors with 3 freshmen with no college experience so far. So we probably should have expected it, but like you said, we've gotten spoiled. We've gotten used to a certain level of winning and success, and we're just learning now that we do. We can get, our shield can get dented pretty easily if we're not doing all the right things on any given night.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, Larry, with that. It is interesting though, seeing our free throw percentage being actually a strength. That was one of our big weaknesses last year. And let's put our heads together and sort of discuss. And again, we're just dumb fans, so we really don't know anything, but we do feel like we have some ideas on what we could maybe see done better. What do you guys think could be a solution this year? We've talked about some of the adjustments we want to see. Like, let's go into some detail. Michael, what do you want the team to focus on moving forward?
I think that's the $100,000 question, guys. I think first and foremost, I think is offensively. I've mentioned, on last week's call, and I think I've mentioned in a number of posts, the inability to drive the ball and to open up that offense. I think we've become too reliant on the 3-point shot. I think we need to find ways to run an offense where we have our guards drive or slash. We've got slashers on this team that can get to the basket and look for dump offs and easy baskets. And I think that's something that I would love for the coaching staff to look at, is to not be so reliant on the 3-pointer and be so perimeter based, but also look to include some more movement in the offense to where we can stretch that defense, open up the middle, maybe flash Adrian to the middle as a quick dump off and a cut. I know it sounds easy to say, but it almost seems basic grade school basketball, where you run a guy up to the foul line, you do a pick, a guy rolls, just anything. Because right now, I think, and I think we mentioned this in the pre-show discussion, we're becoming too easy to defend for the opposing teams. And I think we need to do something to break out of that mold. And I think on the defensive end, I think we need to switch something up. Obviously, the zone is allowing for way too many open shots, and for big time scorers such as Burke, like you mentioned, Kyle, to just simply light us up. And so those would be 2 things that I think I would like to see at least corrected, or some changes made to see if maybe we can get a different result.
Yeah, Larry, I'm gonna pass it to you in a second. I just want to make one quick comment to Michael. Look, I've been probably for the last 2 years, I've been the biggest proponent of the zone. It's cost me some friendships. Some family members have cut me out of their life over it. It's really just a polarizing topic in today's world. So no, but seriously, I think it works against the right teams and with the right personnel. We don't really have that this year. And look, I get it. Like, if we're going to play Wright State and you want to run the zone because you don't want Grant Basile and Loudon Love to absolutely like eat our lunch, play the zone, take your chances. But why are we not trusting our guys in man-to-man matchups, or at least, switching it up a little bit against a team like IUPUI, who is so guard heavy and full of good 3-point shooters? That one just didn't make any sense to me. We're a guard heavy team. We're quick. I don't know why we're not pressing more. That's, again, big defender of the zone, but like in certain situations, especially this year, I think it's time to really just figure out what else we can do. Larry, I know you have something to say on that too.
Yeah, my theory anyway, and it's probably wrong, but my theory is I think that we're just kind of doing a copy and paste template defense to every single game, because I think we lost so many key players and we brought in so much fresh blood that I almost wonder if it was just easy or easier to just apply one defensive philosophy through the balance of the entire schedule and just hope that everybody that's on the court at any given time can pick up on the rotations effectively. I think what we've seen so far is we've seen some flashes of decent defense, and we've seen an awful lot of just gaping holes where guys are not getting to their spots in the zone quick enough, and we're giving up a lot of easy points. And even though we're 5-8, and we kind of talked about this on the pre-call before the show, we're 5-8, but 5 of those 8 losses are by 2 possessions or less. That tells me that we're just 1 or 2 defensive lapses away from being, the other way around, being 8-5 or whatever.
What do you guys think as far as what's the one wish you're making that you wish Darren Horn would just try this one thing to fix the problem? And it's a limiting question because there's a lot of problems on offense, a lot of problems on defense. I'm making you pick one of the two. So Larry, I'll make you start.
That's actually a pretty easy one for me. I would like to see, and I know this is going to be, it's going to feel like a broken record. I would like to see our guards dump the ball down low somewhere in or near the paint. Doesn't have to be in the paint, just somewhere in the paint or near the paint. Because if you look at our statistics, even though we're having a losing season both overall and in the conference, we're being outscored by just about 2 points a game. We're averaging only 68 points a game, which, man, that's not going to get it done. But we're giving up about 71. We're shooting about the same field goal percentage as our opponents. We're quite a bit worse in 3-point percentage. We're shooting about 27, giving up about 34% 3-point field goal percentage. Dead even in rebounding, just about dead even in turnovers, dead even in free throw shooting. The one key thing that stands out to me though is assists. This year we've got a grand total of 140 assists versus 169 for our opponents. What that tells me is you've got a potential playmaker that last year had more weapons to dump the ball to, more guys that would be cutting into the paint. This year, we don't have anybody really attempting to invade the paint like we did last year. Last year, you would have a Jalen Tate working his way down there. You would have a Dantez Walton slashing through. Tyler Sharp even would run through the baseline to get to the other side of the perimeter now and then and get fed a pass. Bryson Langdon had a lot of weapons to disperse to. This year we're on the wrong side of assists, and I feel like if we thought about what our options were down low, if we maybe looked at Adrian, if we looked at maybe Bam, maybe we kind of try to consolidate a little more of our game plan into the center of the offensive side of the court as opposed to shooting from the sidelines, 24, 25, 26 times a game. Maybe we have a better shot because obviously statistically your chances of making a 2-pointer are a lot greater than a 3-pointer. Find out what you have in your down low guys, your mid-range shooters. Find out if we can get the ball to them and just see what happens. I know we have the guards to get the ball there. It's a matter of whether we're willing to change our philosophy a little bit and pound that paint for a game. I mean, the game against IUPUI, the second game, we only shot, 13 3-pointers, and we still were 1 possession away from winning. That kind of tells me we don't need to shoot 25 threes to stay in the game. We shot half that and just about pulled it out right at the end there. So, I don't know.
Yeah, Michael, got anything to add?
Yeah, I think I'll go polar opposite of what Larry said. I'll take the defensive argument in this. I think if I could have one wish, I would like to see some switch up on the defensive end. I believe that the zone that we've been playing most of the year is clearly not working. We're getting burned too much against teams where we have hot shooters or guys that can drive to the basket. And I'd like to see the ability to switch that up, to be a fly on the wall during practice. Maybe it's a situation where we don't have the talent on the defensive end to where we can afford to play man to man and we are forced to do a zone. But I'd like to think that we've got the type of athletes that if we were able to mix it up, that we could do exactly that. And I think, Kyle, you touched on it at the onset of the show, is adapt to the teams that you're up against. I don't know if you necessarily need to play a zone against a team that isn't going to kill you from the outside and is more of a driving type of a team. Maybe in those instances, you want to man up and cut off passing lanes and cut off drives. So I'd like to see something done on the defensive end and firm that up, or at least maybe have some flexibility to switch it up when we need to.
I'm going to keep this as succinct as possible. Okay. If I told you guys that we were 17th in the nation at something last year, that we are now 208th in the nation at this year, would you agree that that could be one of the biggest problems that we have right now? Just
Sure.
with that blanket statement being applied.
Sure.
All right, so I'll give you some details on what that looks like. We are currently allowing teams, and this is not in conference, this is for the season, to shoot 33.6% from three. And you might be thinking, okay, that's fine, whatever. That's average. That's decent shooting percentage for an individual player, but for a team, that's really high. In fact, it's good enough for 208th in the country right now, out of 353 teams. Like I said prior, we were 17th in the country last year in opponents' 3-point percentage at under 30%. We held teams to 29.3% last year from three. And so you might be asking yourself, why is that the case? We ran the matchup zone all season last year, right? With some of the same personnel. Dantes Walton was always in the right spot on defense, never lost, was, for his like pound for pound, probably one of the best inside defenders in the Horizon League last year, pound for pound, right? I mean, obviously he couldn't go up against Loudon Love in a back down situation, but he was always in the right position, always rotating over, always making it difficult on the guards to get the ball into the post. And that's what you need when you're going to run a zone like what we run, and when you're going to allow your guards to do what he wants his guards to do. I don't know if it's that they don't trust the people behind them, so maybe they're getting sucked in a little bit more to help out inside. They're not rotating fast enough. I don't know what it is. And to Larry's point, it could be the fact that we had a week or whatever it was of practice before the season started. Like, who knows? Like, I don't really have the answer there, but I will tell you, to tie it all back together, I'm a big believer in this zone, but only under like all the I'm even willing to defend the zone if like 10 or 9 out of 10 things aren't working for us, but we still have that one thing. Right now, like nothing is working with it, and I'm okay with keeping it in the bag because it's the philosophy. It's like asking the Bengals to go away from a 3-4 or whatever, like a 3-4 defense. Like it's a philosophy. It's you're not going to get rid of it if it's like what your program is built on. But like, I don't know why we're not switching things up a little bit. We got and for those who are worried about it for the future, I wouldn't be. We're one big guy away, like from. And it was supposed to be hard this year. I don't think it's Bam yet. Doesn't look like he's necessarily ready, but he could be there next year. We're a big guy away from really being able to unleash that zone. And I think we're going to be better at it next year, but we're just not there right now. So to all y'all's point, yeah, I absolutely want to see them focus on, running more man, getting in guys and having some like individual accountability on defense. So that's it. It was a little bit longer rant than I expected to go, but
Well, Kyle, one last thing before we switch to our next topic here. I think one thing, and hopefully we all agree on this, I could understand maybe some of the struggles that we both touched on offensively and defensively occurring maybe the first 4, 5, 6 games of the season. And because you chalk it up, like you said, very limited amount of practice preseason and things of that nature. I wouldn't have imagined we would be regressing. And I think that we are showing signs of regressing during these losing streaks to where we're not doing the opposite and building upon maybe the experience and the added practice times and the different things like that. I would have thought it would have been just totally different. I would have thought we would have struggled early on, but then as the repetition rolled in and the practices rolled in, that things would have gotten better. Not saying it would have been any different, but that we would have seen some more positives. But that loss during the weekend to Cleveland State and now to IUPUI, there's still a lot of those glaring weaknesses to where it seems like we're regressing and not improving.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, you know what? You just brought that up, and now I'm actually kind of mad. So it's good that we're running up on our time here because Larry made a point in our chat earlier this week. Like these excuses of like time and all that. What does that even mean? Detroit Mercy just was off for what 3-4 weeks, and they came in and swept this past weekend. IUPUI, they had only played, I think, 4 or 5 games leading up
4
to our
conference
game.
games. Yeah.
Yeah, and 1 non-conference game. So, like they're up again, and I think their last game prior to ours was before. Was it? No, I'm sorry. They had played some conference games leading up to ours, but they going into their Cleveland State series had only had 1 game against Tennessee State on December 12th. So good. That's a great point. You would think that it's a young team who started off kind of the way we did, a little bit strong, would just grow and get better. So I don't know, Mike. I do want to close out on this final topic that you had brought up on our pre-call.
Yeah, no, I think at this point in the season, I think we've seen Horn mess with a couple different variations. I think the starting 5 has stayed pretty much the same, but in terms of who's coming in off the bench, I think is been pretty consistent. And I was just curious to see if maybe these last 8 to 10 games that we've got remaining in the season, if that kind of 7-man rotation where you go with the guys that are doing the best and that are working the hardest, or do we in what we're terming a quote unquote lost year, do we continue to play and throw anybody and everybody out there to see what types of lineups work the best, and then in turn carry that over into the off season and into next season?
And my thinking would go almost conversely to what you're thinking is. I feel like because it's pretty much a lost season, I think we would benefit from putting guys out there. I mean, we're starting to see more of we got Bryson Langdon's minutes, and then all of a sudden Jake Evans' minutes are kind of coming like this. I think it's worth looking to see what we have, because one thing to consider that we haven't really touched on the last couple sessions is we don't lose anybody after this season. Nobody. We don't have any true seniors, and even Alita, who technically is a senior, because of COVID, he's going to get a free pass for this season. We don't lose anybody, and we're bringing in 2 guards. So if you want to look at what our what our blood is going to look like next year, it's going to be thin. And by thin, I mean, we're going to have youth and we're going to have more guards. So you got to wonder what that's going to do with our defensive options and our offensive options. Do we have more guys to feed the ball to down low next year, or are we planning on going with a fast, small lineup the way we traditionally have the last few years? I know sometimes we want to say that, well, this is just the hand that Coach so-and-so was dealt, and he's doing the best he can with it. What we're seeing is a coach was dealt a hand of a guard-heavy roster, and he's building on that guard-heavy roster with guards. So it's just something, I'm just kind of randomly thinking right now about what next season would look like, because we're talking about how we wind down this season. And I wonder if we try to get a good look at what we have, because we're not losing anybody, and we're bringing in 2 more fairly well thought of recruits. So it's going to be interesting to see how we treat the second half of the season to prepare for what we have coming in next season.
Agreed.
Yeah, I said this on our pre-call too. Look, I don't think you're going to see anything drastically change over the next 2 series that we play. I think we're in it to win it. I think we still see a scenario where we can finish top 4, possibly in this conference, if we can have a good successful run at things here down the stretch. You're not going to see. I don't think you're going to see coaches say, "Oh well, I mean, it's a progression year. Like you never know. Like we'll just see what we got," until February. If we come out flat and we lose these next 2 games to Robert Morris, and we split against oh shoot, help me out. Who do we have after Robert Morris? UIC. Yeah, UIC heading into 4 straight road games. I mean, look, if we go 1-3 over the next couple of games here, I certainly see Coach kind of digging into his bag. I don't think much is going to change. I think the one thing that came of this weekend, though, is I think Jake Evans is going to become, if he isn't already, that's our backup point guard right now. I know it sounds goofy because he's a walk-on, but convince me that he hasn't looked like the second most impressive point guard on our team. And I'm considering our point guards to be Bryson Langdon, Carlos Hines, and Jacob Evans. Marcus Warwick isn't in that category. He could be in the future, but he's not right now. It's not how he's being used, and neither is Bryson Langdon. It's those three guys. Tell me right now that Jacob Evans hasn't been the second best point guard on this team.
I can't tell you that.
Yeah, no, I can't either. I think he's been a steadying influence when he is getting minutes, and I don't think you're seeing a lot of turnovers from him. I think he's playing under control, and he's doing what he needs to do, to feed the ball and to defend on the other end.
Yeah, and you talk about a short year. It's looking like it's really affecting Carlos Hines because not only did he have a short year like everyone else in the country with the COVID shortening the preseason and all that, he was ineligible for the first half of the season or however long it was, first half of non-conference because of the grade stuff. Like I think he actually had to finish out the semester with a high enough grade point average to even be eligible in December. So, and it's showing. So, yeah, we'll see. We have a lot to watch for this weekend. If you are catching this as a standalone video, be sure to look out for our other videos on the channel that are posting this week individually. But also, if you're watching this as a part of the full Norse Report show, keep on watching. We're going to take you into a little segue video here. And then the next thing you're going to see is you're going to get an update from a guy who you probably forgot even existed. Chris Hart has been returned from the grave, I guess you could say. He is writing power rankings again for us. He's going to join us for a few minutes here to talk about his current power rankings and also talk us through his algorithm that he has, which is a predictive model of who's going to be the Horizon League Player of the Year. So stay tuned. We got that coming up for you next. Larry, Michael, thanks again. It's been great, guys. Appreciate everything, and we'll talk next week.
Yep.
See you, everyone.